Good afternoon, and welcome to the Leadership Series. When we set this up, we didn't realize, or I didn't pay attention to the fact that the first Friday in April was also Good Friday, and that's my error. So I apologize to those who aren't here. I was told, I got all these directions from Marty Gunyon that I needed to mention that our next speaker after this is Bill Self, and not to show up our current speaker, but Marty's getting a bunch of RSVPs, and the rules are the same for that as all the other sessions. Just come, and we actually will provide lunches for the full room of 230. So after that, with people sitting on the floor or whatever, we probably won't get lunches either, but it's not necessary to RSVP. It kind of fills up her group-wise inbox. Okay. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Denise Upah Mills. She's president of 6 Degrees Solutions, and she has been, just looking quickly at, she said she likes short introductions, 26 years of business ownership, spanning a variety of industries, and I was impressed with the diversity here. Agriculture, telemarketing, radio broadcasting, real estate, insurance, technology. You probably wonder why we invited her. Healthcare and human resources. Her latest business venture is Pacific Accord, focusing on organizational development. She presents talks all over, and one of her areas of expertise is networking strategies. It's an area that attendees last year asked for more on in terms of having a session, and we thought she was the ideal person to present it. Denise works closely with outplacement companies and has been involved in entrepreneurship, which is something I think we see more and more of in terms of the medical field, and whether you're a basic scientist or a physician, there's an entrepreneurial aspect to what's done at the medical center. Denise, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dr. Klein. Well, good afternoon. I'm going to do a little mic check. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, very good. Thank you. You'll notice there's no PowerPoint presentation today. I hope you're not disappointed. But when we talk about networking, it's all about people. And so I really want you to interact a little bit and get some feedback from you, but also to have you experience some of what networking is all about. How many of you absolutely love networking? Yeah, look around. Look at that huge majority of people. How many of you know you hate it? That's okay. Very good. What I'm here to do is to share with you a new perspective of networking. How does that sound? A new perspective. I named my company 6 Degrees Solutions based on the concept of the 6 degrees of separation. Are you familiar with that? Basically the concept that we are all connected by 6 degrees or 6 introductions of people. So we could pick a farmer in China, and by simply a random name, in fact there was a scientific study in the 60s that put random names in a folder and they handed the folder off. And if I wanted to meet this random farmer in China and his name was in a folder, how many touches through relationships, how would that folder move around until it finally got into the hands of the person whose name was in the folder? And they found that it was on the average of 6 touches before it landed someplace into the right hands. Now, here in Kansas City, my belief is it's about 2 degrees of separation. Now think about that. Just in that basic concept, if you could meet, if you know of someone in Kansas City that you have respect for, or that you admire, or that you see as a celebrity, it could be an author, it could be anyone, that you just simply admire, you are only 1 degree away, which means you know someone who has a personal relationship with them. Yeah, you're like, wait a minute, okay. So basically, all you have to do is ask a friend. That would be a personal relationship. You would ask a friend for an introduction to the person that you most want to meet in Kansas City, and you could get it, theoretically. Okay, and I'll show you some ways of how easy that is. I'm going to tell you a few stories about networking and making introductions and people and so forth. Before I do that, there's a basic principle I have to say so that when you hear my stories, you just don't go, oh my gosh, that's the boldest thing I've ever heard. It's not necessarily so bold because by definition, I wrote my own definition of networking, and I tried to make it as easy as I could for everybody that I was working with, because I work with people in all different areas. And that is just simply this, connecting through relationships for the purpose of helping. How many of you would help a friend in a heartbeat? Okay? So I have a need. I'm your friend. I need something. I come to you and say, hey, this is what I need. Can you help me? And you help me in a heartbeat. That's networking. That's how simple it is. Friends helping friends. You guys do it all the time. It's just that suddenly the business environment put this really awkward twist on it, and suddenly it's about shoving business cards in people's faces and getting trapped in a networking environment, talking to someone who's trying to sell you something, and it gets very, very awkward. Okay? So I just want to lay that premise that we're just talking about friends helping friends, all through relationships. Okay? Now, in order to do that, some of your relationships need to be strategic to meet some of the people that you want to meet. So in order to do that, there's another foundation that's really, really important, and that is relationships require trust and sincerity, and they take time. Simple enough. You have acquired your friends, you have chosen your friends, you've gotten to know your friends. You didn't just meet someone one day randomly and decided this is my best friend. And when that person calls you, that stranger, that acquaintance, calls you and says, hey, can you help me? This is what I need. You might hesitate a little bit because the relationship hasn't been developed, the trust and the sincerity. I have the opportunity in business to, imagine this, my family and friends kind of shake their head. They're like, now, just so that I'm clear, you've made a business out of meeting people. I'm like, yeah. So here's what I get to do. I get to take phone calls from people who call and say, hey, we'd like to meet John Travolta. Can you introduce us? So I have to get paid to go talk to John Travolta to develop a relationship with him so that I can make an introduction. It's a tough life. It's a tough life. It's something that I learned because I have a very large family. And I will tell you, I never knew what the word networking was. I have 72 first cousins on one side. And you can imagine they're spread all throughout the country in every possible industry there is. And what we do is when I need something, I'm an Iowa farm girl. Any Iowegians here? Got some Iowegians? Yes. See, now we already have a connection. Okay. So being an Iowa farm girl and you need something and you're going to the big city, because everything's a big city from Iowa, I would call my mom first, who's my first connector. I would call Mom and I'd say, Mom, which cousin's living in Springfield, Illinois? And she'd say, oh, that's cousin so-and-so. So then I call cousin so-and-so because we were a close family and make the connection, and they'd help me out when I got there. Okay? That's networking. That's family helping family, friends helping friends. Okay, I just want to give you that perception because sometimes what ends up happening is we feel like it has to be work. And honestly, you're doing it now. You just don't know it. Okay? But you're looking now, and what I want to share with you this afternoon is a more strategic way to meet people that you would like to meet that you currently don't have connections with or don't know that you do. But before I do that, when was the last time you played Truth or Dare? All the hands go up. Nobody wants to really admit it. Well, that was last night. I played Truth or Dare last night. We're going to play a little Truth or Dare, okay? We're a little off balance number-wise, but this is going to be my truth side, and this is going to be my, I guess lucky, you're the dare side, okay? The truth side is this. I'd like you just in somebody next to you or kind of in a group around you, come up with a truth about how networking is for you right now. So what are some of your truths about what networking is or how it works for you, okay? On the dare side, I'd like you guys to come up, and this is what's really fun. The dare side, this is very fun. I want you guys to come up with, if it were ideal, take all the stuff out of it. If it were ideal, what would networking look like for you? Okay, so come up with one or two ideas sort of in your groups. Get a group of 3 or 4 people and kind of talk amongst yourselves some truth and some dares about what it could possibly be, okay? I'm only going to give you about 2 or 3 minutes. And you see some handshaking going on. That's good. Introduction?
I did American Council on Education Fellowship in 1998. I was sitting at the session we had in Washington where all the old fellows came back and I was sitting next to Provost from the University of Massachusetts. And he said, "Nice to meet you, but you're shy, right?" And I said, "No, I'm not. I'm introverted. I don't, this takes a lot of energy. I just say, get off your butt and go talk to people."
Mm-hmm.
This is about.
I'll help you with that. I'll make it easy. Okay, take about 1 more minute. About 1 more minute. Okay, if I could have your attention, please. Have your attention? Thank you. I just did a program yesterday and the day before with the Girl Scouts, and I'll tell you what, it was Girl Scouts USA, and I just simply raised my hand, and just like that, they got quiet. I was like, okay, I like this system. Yeah. Not here, but there, I kind of got used to that. Just simply raised my, didn't work at home last night. Just want you to know that. So, okay, so what I'd like is just raise your hand if you've got a good idea of a truth that your group talked about, that you all agreed this is a truth out there. And I'm going to try to have you say it real loudly so everybody can hear.
It's all about who you know.
It's all about who you know. Wow. The size of the favor that you want to ask has to match the size of the relationship, the value of the relationship. Excellent. Wow. That was very, very good. How about some others? Thank you. Oh, it's easier for extroverts. So introverts don't have friends. Oh, it's harder for extroverts. Or introverts. Okay. It feels artificial. How many of you would say that it feels artificial to you? Okay? You do have to pause for a second and think why that is. Because if it's friends helping friends, you heard Dr. Klein mention that I work in a lot of areas of outplacement. Imagine someone has lost their job. And they come to you, and they're a very close friend of yours, and they say, I'm so excited today, I just got a new job. The last 6 months have been horrible because I've been looking for work and haven't been able to find anything. But they're a close friend of yours. And you're wondering, why didn't you come and ask me for help? Right? Right? That's just simply friends helping friends. It's artificial when we feel that we're asking for more than we deserve. That was such a great comment up there about valuing the relationship. But also, your friends want to help you, and I know that you would want to help your friends in a heartbeat. So based on that, don't you appreciate it when your friends come to ask? okay? And let's just say that you and I were close friends. How do you know what I need unless I ask? But if I were to come to you and ask for help, would that not make you feel good? Especially when you could help me? And sometimes the fear comes in of, well, I don't know how to help. I can tell you that I've set myself up not necessarily to know the answers to everything, but to just simply be the revolving door. Come check with me and I'll get you going that away. Okay? I don't have the answers. I don't need to know. I just surround myself with good people who I think do have the answers. So don't talk yourself out of good relationships just because you believe you have to have all the answers. Just allow the information to come to you and set yourself up that you're asked for help, and then you would be a great connector to pass the information on. Okay? That's just all networking. Again, through relationships. Having your friends ask you for help. And if they're not, you have to wonder, what is it about you? It's not about them. It's about you and their comfort level of being able to ask. That's an important aspect. Are you open to helping people? Okay?
One of the things that I think is when you have a new job, it's probably developing your relationships is one of the most important things you can do. And yet I see people, and it takes a lot, like you said, time. It may take 18 months to really develop your network, but it's so important. And I've seen some people that really don't put a lot of value into it. You know, there's no to the grindstone and don't worry about the relationships. And especially when you're new, you've got to sort of establish yourself. And that's
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I work in a lot of college environments, and, a lot of times what happens is people, adults in their later aspects of, later years of working don't value networking. Things just sort of happen, and it may or may have not been through the network. It just was a career path. And then suddenly something happens where they're in a completely different situation of needing a completely different kind of job, and they have no network. They haven't developed it over the years. You should always be developing your network because you never know what you need. And that network, again, if it's friendships and valuable relationships, it's more than just getting an introduction to get a job or getting an introduction to get some business. Okay? It's so much more than that, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Okay? How about another truth back here? Another truth. Thank you.
we have a lot of structure here, but it's actually easier to network with the person in the office next door.
Okay. So it's easier to network with the people who are right next door to you versus anywhere else on campus. Oh, you're assigned to network with. Are you assigned to network with people? Oh, it's just to work together. Okay, all right. Assigned to network with. That's just kind of interesting because literally it's almost contradictory to the relationship. So, think about the word assign and just set it up that, and Dr. Klein and I were talking about this while you were talking in your Truth or Dare groups about the concept of walking in, and it's the self-fulfilling prophecy of walking in and saying, I come to these events and I don't ever get anything out of this. So the self-fulfilling prophecy was, okay, let me help you walk around. Your brain says, I'll walk you around the room. You're going to have a miserable time. Go find something to eat. Go find something to drink. Oh, my gosh, look at the time. I got to get out of here. And off you go. And then you feel somewhat resentful to the business environment because it's taken you away from your family. I'm very purposeful in where I go, and I would highly recommend that you do as well. But when I go someplace, I also go in with the mindset, and interestingly enough, I get to teach mindset as I travel around, because networking is not the system as much as it is a mindset. And I go in with the mindset that I'm going to learn something today, and every person that I meet has value. Someday that person is going to be an incredible resource for me. It's just at this moment I don't know what that's going to be. So suddenly it's more of an adventuresome to move around the room rather than a task or an assignment. Does that make sense? It's all mindset. Okay, so let's hear it from the dare side. How'd you guys do? Did you have fun with it? Oh, they're like, okay, let's hear about it. What'd you talk about? Paula, you've been invited to share.
Well, I said in a perfect world of networking.
There.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, in a perfect world with networking. Okay, I'm single. Hello. In a perfect world.
Okay, hang on a second. Networking has a lot of different purposes and value.
See?
Okay, go
In a
ahead.
perfect world, someone would introduce me to an age-appropriate, eligible, successful person, like every week or every month.
Every week. Or just once and it's the right guy.
Well, yeah.
Okay? Just one good one, right?
One good one. That's all I need.
One good one.
Hello.
Now,
Hello, people.
Paula has just exercised, okay, the value of asking. Now you all know.
They didn't before.
Yep, if you didn't know before, now you know. And so just keep your eyes open. We'll come back to it, okay? So meeting the right person. How do I know, Paula, who the right person is for you? How am I going to know that?
Well, they'll be fun and funny and 40-ish or so.
Okay. So because we're friends, I would have already known that. We've had that conversation.
A job. He has a job.
A job is... I got to get my notebook out. Write this down. Okay. Do you see? Does that sound? See, in a perfect world, what she's saying is, I'm going to say you, this group over here, you guys would know what she needs and just introduce her. That would be a perfect world, right? Okay? And the only caveat, which isn't so difficult, is assuming that we are all friends, that we already know what she needs, and because we're friends, we're going to help her out. Okay? Little caveat with the dating thing. We all know what that is. You know, we don't want to be accountable for the relationship. It doesn't go well. Okay? Okay? But isn't that true? That's the only reason we wouldn't do it. It's not that Paula's not a great person and that we wouldn't do it for her because we're her friends. It's just that awkwardness of, what if I'm not right? But you know what? That same awkwardness comes in any situation. We are always balancing. When I introduce someone, if they're the right person because they have the right skills, but maybe they're kind of a rough personality, you know, maybe a little abrasive, I call them prickly. Okay, I want to warn the person I'm making the introduction to so that they make sure that the prickle doesn't get in the way of the information. Okay, but that's because I have relationships with the person I'm connecting and the person I'm connecting them to. Okay? Very simple, but because we're friends on both sides, it's not difficult to do. Okay? Give me some other examples of what would be ideal. Thanks, Paula. Got to give up the mic. It's just like, what would be ideal? Oh, the person you need is always available. Very good. Very good. Got a microphone runner. Thank you.
Paul, I'm way over 40. And married. Sorry. I am employed, at least temporarily. Yeah. Our group thought it'd be ideal if you could send out a question on a listserv and have the people with the answers meet you for lunch the next day.
Nice. Why can't that happen? Maybe we could send it out and give them 2 days' notice. Okay? Could that not happen? That seems pretty easy. Okay? It's just a matter of making the connections, asking for what you need. See how simple this is? We just ask for what we need, and the people who have the information show up. Okay? Without judgment, without the games, without any of that, because we're doing it through relationships, friends connecting friends. Okay? How about one more on the dare side? Something a little different than what we've talked about so far. Come on, if it could be the best that it could be, what would it be? How about somebody on the truth side? Can you come up with one? If it could be the best that it could be, how would you like it to be? Not embarrassing? What causes it to be embarrassing? Is it the introduction or the asking for help?
No, well, I think the embarrassing part of networking is kind of with what we said before, where the thing that you're asking for is out of whack with the relationship you have with the person.
Okay.
So sometimes it feels embarrassing to go to someone and ask for something because you're not sure that that relationship is really there.
Okay.
And so it's awkward. So in an ideal world, it wouldn't be awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Or else you'd have
In the ideal world, it'd be comfortable.
You'd have
and
fabulous relationships with everyone.
I went to the group one time, and they said in the ideal world that we would just sort of beam our thoughts. Okay, now you got to be careful with that. But we would just beam our thoughts, and you would know, here's what she needs, and you would just make sure that I have it. And I don't have to ask, and we don't have to go through all the embarrassment and the awkwardness and all of that. It would just be there for us. Kind of like the listserv concept. Put it out there, and the answer appears. Okay? You had a comment about the awkwardness.
Some people are afraid of the no.
Oh, absolutely. Afraid of the rejection or the no. Okay? Let me put that into at least a perspective. When you ask for something that maybe is out of balance for the relationship, I'm a firm believer in simply being honest. And I know it's kind of a new concept. But I just simply say, you know what, I know where you're coming from, and I know that we haven't known each other that long or whatever. I mean, I lay it out there for what the truth is. But here's what I'm looking for, and I think you're the right person who I think can help me. And if you know someone who I should be talking to, could you make that connection for me? Okay, so I give them permission to say no. Okay, I give them permission to get me just closer. I don't necessarily need to go right to the doorstep of somebody that I'm trying to meet, but if they can just get me 1 degree closer, I appreciate it. Okay, and I'm honest about the fact that it feels out of balance. In my relationships, I really appreciate, when my friends come to me and they know that they can just say it, like, I'm not sure, but I'd rather they say it than we feel this awkwardness, and you feel it. You know when it feels awkward. So then when you feel it, and you're like, gosh, something doesn't feel right, but it's not really articulated. I would just say it. And then an interesting question I get all the time is, well, how do I know if it's rude or not? Are you thinking that sometimes? Like, I don't know if I should ask because I don't want to be rude. That comes up? Let me ask you this, or let me just state this. My opinion is this. For those of you who are thinking that, you can't be rude. Because rude people don't think about that stuff. Right? Rude people don't know they're rude. That's true. So if you're worried, I give you great credit, if you're worried about is it rude or not, you won't come across that way because your personality doesn't allow you to. Be natural. Remember, we're friends and friends. Okay, we're not working at this. We're just simply being creative and getting connections to whoever we need to meet. But I'm going to give you the strategy as well so that you understand, who do you want to meet outside of your current world that really expands your knowledge and your base of information and potentially your business and potentially a lot of different aspects that maybe you haven't considered up to this point. On the far end of the rows, and they're scattered throughout the room, are stacks of cards. If you would take those cards, take one and pass them down, and let's get them all the way down the room really quickly. Okay? They look like business cards, but they have a phrase on them with 6 degrees on the back side. Do you see them? They're coming around. Okay, we're going to try to get them all the way across. I'd rather you just hold the card on the 6 degrees side. So just look at the 6 degrees side for now until everybody has a card. I'm hoping we should have enough for everybody in the room. Did they get down this far? Yes? No? Raise your hand if you do not have cards. Okay, those of you who have cards, can you at least move them down this direction? Okay. If you're with someone that you can share, there must be a stack sitting someplace. Can we move some down, wherever the extras are, move them down this way? And if you have someone next to you that you can share, let's send a few more this way so we can fill in this area. Okay, there's a stack coming across the back. Thank you very much. There's another stack as well. Okay. Are they coming? Here's a few too. So if every other one of you could take them just to move them around quickly. Okay, does everybody at least have access to a card? Okay, they're coming down. Do I have a couple more that we can send to the two ladies in the front here? Send the card on down or just share, okay? Here's what I'd like you to do. Turn the card over and read the phrase that's on your card. Is that a stack of cards in back? I think so. So read the phrase for understanding. Don't memorize it, just read it to paraphrase it. Are there a couple of extra cards in the back row? Yes, thank you. Could you somehow get them down here easily? Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so if you have a card, turn it back over so the 6 degrees side is up. Move them all the way down. I'll take them. Thank you so much. I knew there were several out there. Did you even see one? You guys got them? There you go. You got one? And you each have one. Okay, send them back up that way. Thank you. Okay. Who can tell me what their card says? Don't memorize it, just paraphrase it. What does your card say? Thank you.
Basically, it says finished files as a result of scientific studies.
Okay.
Thank you. Finished files as a result of scientific study combined with years of experience. So
Okay.
what I take that to mean is like your knowledge, or I guess knowledge you acquire combined with your experience helps you to finish your file or finish file.
Okay. Okay.
Something like that.
Something like that. How about somebody over here? What does your card say? Paraphrase it.
Mine's the same.
Similar kind of card? Oh, it is? Yeah. Okay. Take a look. You guys are working too hard at this. Take a look at your card again. Look at your card. Okay, I need to clear your mind because you're working too hard at this. Just for fun, let's count on your card. Count the number of the letter F. F is in Frank on your card. How many F's are on your card? Okay. Got your number? Okay, raise your hand if you have a card with 2 F's. See the hands, just look around. 3 F's, 4 F's, 5 F's, 6 F's, 7 F's. 6 is our highest, is 7. Okay. Trade cards with someone who has a different number and share what number you have. Trade cards that has a different number. What are you noticing? What are you noticing about the cards? They are all the same. All the cards are the same. Now, did you notice how many different 2, 3, right? Okay. Would anyone like to tell me how many F's there are on the card? 6. Does anybody not? Oh, we still have a few 3s, a few 2s. Okay. If you see less than 6, you're probably missing the word of. Oh yeah, there's the light bulb. See it? Okay. Here's my question. How is it you can all be looking at the very same thing? You're all looking at the very same thing, but you see something different. Okay, when it comes to the F in of, what happens is our brain translates that. You were taught to read phonetically. So you read O-V, O-F as O-V, of, and your brain doesn't see the F, it hears the V. That's why you don't see it. Here's what's so important about that, and that's not just in networking. Frankly, folks, this is in life in general. We all have things that are right in front of us, and this is also the value of diversity. We can all be looking at the very same thing and see something different. There was a gentleman, one of you two gentlemen who had 7, an overachiever. No? They're like, no. See, that's the other interesting thing. There is a 7 out there someplace. There is a 7. Do you have the 7? Does somebody have the 7? See, here's the other interesting thing. One card in the audience is a 7, and it could be laying someplace too. One card is a 7, but if you know the majority sees 6, and you hear a person who happens to have a microphone on who says there's 6, you may or may not choose to say, you know what, mine has 7. In fact, you may or may not even see it. And I know this happened to some of you because the odds are that this is going to happen. Also in this exercise, if someone of credibility hands you their card, you saw 6, and someone of credibility hands you their card, and they say there's 3 on my card, you can only now see 3. It's true. It's true. It happens to me all the time. I worked with a group of Homeland Security generals, If a 3-star general sees 6 and a 4-star general sees 3, what does the 3-star general have to say? You're right. Anybody here in research? Many of you are. In research in some way or another, very dangerous to not ask for help. When you see something, to not expect that maybe there's more there than just what you see. It's the same thing with people. We make judgments about people. We make a judgment based on, are they professionally dressed, or are they maybe a little sloppy looking? We make determinations based on their size, based on their sex, based on their race, based on a lot of different things. Sometimes it's simple hair color, it's eye color, it's they remind you of someone, and it's not someone who's a powerful or positive influence in your life. Those are split-second judgments, and we do that about people all the time. The only way to see those F's, the only way, and it's a great way to expand your own knowledge, is to just simply think and ask. When you think you know the answer to anything, ask someone near you who thinks differently, who has a different background, who has a different heritage than what you have. Is there anything that you see that I don't see? Or what do you see? And you'll get a completely different answer. For those of you who are sure there were 2, 3, 4, or 5 F's, you might have argued with me for a little while if we had the time to do it. Okay? And here's the other aspect of that. I could say, try harder to see it. And trying harder doesn't work. I say, try harder to network. Try harder to get along. And it doesn't make it easier. In fact, if anything, it puts pressure on you. Trying harder isn't working. Yes, sir?
Have you ever tried having somebody look at it upside down and count the F's?
I've not tried that.
Look at it from a different perspective, and then you take it away, it's no longer words you're looking for.
Right. One time I worked with a group of proofreaders. I was concerned it wouldn't work. They had the same split as you did from the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shocked me. And I will tell you, I was a little nervous about trying it. Okay? All I'm saying is that diversity is a great thing for us. Diversity of minds, diversity of thought, diversity of opinion. Okay, it doesn't mean that you need to change someone's opinion. It's just sharing that information. So when you go out into an environment where you're somewhat uncomfortable, look forward to learning a new opinion. Instead of, I'm concerned someone's going to think my opinion's not good, ask about things. Walk around the event and ask questions rather than worrying about talking about the weather. Okay? Let me tell you just another quick story about truth. The self-fulfilling prophecy and truth very much play true in business. They play true in health. They play true in a person's ability to regenerate themselves and to heal themselves. I firmly believe that. And there's a gentleman by the name of Cliff Young in Australia. Cliff was a potato farmer and a rancher, and he decided that he was going to run a marathon that they run between Melbourne and Sydney, Australia. Now that's about 600 miles. Okay, that's like from here to Denver. Okay? So Cliff enters the race. He looks a little different than most marathon runners. You know what marathon runners look like? Yeah, they usually wear the skimpy little tops, the short shorts, have a number on the front. Well, Cliff had a number on the front of him, but his outfit looked a little different, which is why he attracted so much attention. He was wearing bib overalls and a long-sleeve white gauzy shirt. So they interviewed him. All the media interviewed him and said, you know, what makes you think that you can run a race like this? The other thing, he was wearing galoshes. Okay, gum boots. They're called gum shoes in Australia. But they were like, well, when I was a kid, we wore galoshes. You know what that's what they were. So anyway, they interviewed him, and he said, well, you know, I'm in pretty good shape. I herd my cattle on my ranch on foot because I don't have any horses. Sounds plausible. Sounds like he might be able to actually finish the race. What do you suppose happened? He won. I only tell good stories. He won the race, but here's the amazing thing about the story. When Cliff ran the race, first of all, he was 61 years old. Never ran a marathon before in his life. He was in pretty good shape. He ran the race and won, and he came in a day and a half in front of second place runner. A day and a half. And the reason was he didn't know the truth about how you run multi-day marathon races. Okay? The way you run them is that you would run for 18 and sleep for 6. Cliff didn't sleep. kept on running because he didn't know how it was done around here. So he's too far ahead to know what it's supposed to be like. He kept on running. They said it couldn't be done. Guess what they did the next year? Nobody slept. Yep, everybody kept on running. Nobody slept. They kept on running. They beat his record. Unfortunately, he got injured, so he wasn't able to finish the race the second year. They have since, just a couple of years ago, they have renamed the race the Great Cliff Young Race across Australia because he changed the entire continent's mindset about how things are around here. You have your own truths about what networking is like, and until you choose to think something differently, it will come out the same way for you. Only you talk yourself into that or out of that. Okay? Now let me run through just a quick process of networking, and you have it on the handout that you have about being strategic and purposeful. The first step of networking, if you're going to be strategic about it versus just someday I'd like to meet this person, okay? If you're going to be strategic, the first step is know who you want to meet. Create a list of who you'd like to meet. And I call this a wish list. This isn't I know this person is 2 doors down and I'd like to get to know them better. I'm talking about a bold list. Because here's the interesting thing. No matter who is on your list, and I would put, in fact, I put a list on the left-hand side just for you, my own thinking about possibility of who would be fun to meet. But at the very bottom, my personal top 10 are great leaders, up-and-comers, against all odds stories. I love meeting people like that. Intriguing people, people who could be mentors, people who are so far ahead in their field, which is a field that interests you. Okay, and you think, well, there's no way I'm ever going to meet that person. Put them on your list. Because here's what happens. Are there more than 8 random people in this room? The odds are, if you ask more than 8 random people, you will get 1 degree closer to the person that you want to meet. Let me say that again. The odds are, randomly, you can get 1 degree closer to anybody in the world by asking 8 random people. Okay, so hold in your mind for a second. Who would you like, if you can meet anybody in the world, who would it be? Somebody throw out a name. I'm sorry, who? Okay, Barack Obama. Does anybody have a connection to Barack Obama? Think about it for a second. Oh, we have one back here. What's your connection?
I used to work in the United States Senate. I have a good friend that actually works there now and with his heart. Get his contact.
Okay, so that would be 1, 2, about 3 degrees away. That's pretty close. Okay, how about another one? There's 2 degrees. 2 degrees. I mean, do you see how easy it is? We don't ask. We don't ask. You could give me any random name. I was working with a group a couple weeks ago, and do you know who Andrew Hawking is? Yeah, famous scientist, wrote a book. Do you know what the book was? Excuse me, Stephen Hawking. Yes, Stephen Hawking. Thank you. See, I didn't know who he was, and I said to him, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. Can you spell it for me? They spelled the last name, which is H-O-C-K-I-N-G. Is that correct? H-A-W? Okay. See, I wasn't somebody I was familiar with. So I was kind of struggling with her a little bit, and she's like, I'd really like to meet him. She kind of went into a little bit of what she knew about him. I kid you not. These people were 70 people who worked together in a marketing department together. They were in round tables. The person sitting literally right behind her tapped her on the shoulder and said, my husband has been a pen pal of Stephen Hawking. Is it Stephen? Stephen. Stephen Hawking since 2nd grade. Okay? I've seen introductions in the room to political figures, which are pretty easy to get to, political figures to celebrities to notable people who have done some amazing things right in the room. We don't ask. But you've got to get comfortable asking. So know who you want to meet and make a list. Okay, I keep a list in the visor of my car. Because when I go into a room, here's what will also happen. When I walk in the room and I hear somebody's name that's on my list, Madeleine Albright's on my list right now, if I heard a conversation where her name came up, suddenly it would get loud. Have you heard your name from across the room? You're like, were they talking about me? Okay? That's how it works. If you don't put it on a list and you don't have it in your mind, you'll miss an opportunity. You would have the opportunity right there to meet someone or to get connected. They could be in the room For all you know, the people that you most want to meet could be in the room, but your list should also be by name, by industry, sometimes by title. Okay? Here's the other interesting and a little overwhelming aspect. Each of you are on somebody else's list. And you're thinking, see, this is your mindset, shame on you. Oh no, you don't know me. I'm not on anybody's list. Okay? Not on that list. Not on that list. Okay? You are on someone's list by sheer nature of what you do. Okay? You are a connector to something somewhere. Okay? So by occupation, by title, sometimes by name, you are on somebody's list. A good list. A good list. Okay? And I say that because it's important that you know that somebody out there is looking to meet you just like you are out there to meet other people. Okay? Help each other out. Don't be afraid to ask, hey, I would like to meet, and throw the name out there. You will be amazed at who you could get connected to. But you're not asking because your friends want to help you. That's how simple networking is. Let me give you just a couple of other tips. We talked earlier about the balance of the relationship and the need. When you make the introduction, you should create a compelling reason to meet. What's the purpose versus I just think you're awesome and I'm kind of a groupie. Okay? That's a little overwhelming for no matter who it is. Okay? So there needs to be a compelling reason to meet. I'm not sure that I need to say that, but I like to make sure that that's clear because it makes the introduction that much more comfortable. Okay? And then I also would suggest that you create yourself to be a go-to person. Be a connector. Instead of waiting until somebody asks you, you ask them. If you could meet anybody in the world, who would it be? And then just listen. Go into different environments and listen. Remember, it takes a little bit of time. It's not going to happen from moment to moment. Okay? But suddenly you'll overhear a conversation where someone's talking about someone. That's why I was like, why do I have Andrew Hawking in my mind? I had the opportunity a few weeks ago to share a stage with Andrew Young, and he's just really been on my mind. And we haven't had a chance to reconnect. Do you know who Andrew Young is? Works very closely with Martin Luther King. So we had a great chance to talk while we were waiting on the side of the stage together, but we didn't really have a chance to get to know each other. And so he's just really on my mind. Another aspect of getting to know someone is taking the time to follow up once you get an introduction. That's your responsibility, not theirs. So take the time to follow up. The second aspect is do your research. Know something about them. Okay, if you put someone on your list, it's easier if you know that they're from Cincinnati, Ohio, because then you'll hear someone talk about, oh yeah, I just moved here from Cincinnati. Now you're 1 degree closer by sheer nature of a city. Okay, they probably know someone who knows someone who can connect you to the person that you'd like to meet. So you have some responsibility of doing your research. And then also going where they go. Depending on who I need to meet from business purpose or just my own interest in someone, I like to go places where I know people are going to be that I have on my list. So I'll Google them. Google your name sometimes. That's interesting. I'll Google their name and I find out what events do they go to, what charities are they involved in. And then based on those charities, I'll go to those events and have an opportunity to have a conversation with them. It's very purposeful. But I also am purposeful in the reason that I have to meet them. Okay? It's hard for me from a personal standpoint. I can't do it for a selfish reason. I have to do it for other people. It's just how I'm wired. That may be how you're wired too. You need to know that, and you need to create your own comfort zone in how you meet people. Okay? So the next aspect of it is, what is your comfort zone? Do you like to be in a room with 3,000 people, everybody just sort of randomly milling around? Or do you like a more intimate setting? Because you can get a very intimate setting in a room of 3,000 people. Okay? Just kind of section off a group that's in the corner and go where they are and just sort of shut out or tune out everybody else. But in order to do that, you've got to sort of plan ahead and rehearse it. So rehearsal is another tool that I use to help people get comfortable. If I would have walked in here, if I would have been told, you're going to meet with a group of 10 people to talk about networking. Okay, and we're going to sit at a round table and we're going to talk about networking. I'd have had that pictured in my mind. Okay? If I would have had that pictured in my mind and walked in here and had an auditorium of 3,000 people, do you think I would have been a little out of my comfort zone? Sure, we all get thrown out of our comfort zone based on our expectation and what actually happens. Then the next step is just to simply say, you know, I wasn't expecting this. And just sort of catch your breath a little bit, because we all get thrown out of our comfort zone. But if we're comfortable with ourselves and we can be honest, we can say, I just wasn't expecting this, so let me just gather myself. And now you sort of picture, what would that look like? It's 100 people, and it's in an auditorium, and it looks like this. Like, okay, that's easy for me. Hear that, the way I talk to myself, that's easy for me. I can do that. Okay? It's easy for me to find value in everybody that I meet. If you said that to yourself before walking into any networking event, you would just have a great experience because you would have some very interesting conversations. But if you walk in saying, I hate this stuff, okay, you're going to have a really bad time. Okay, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Don't talk yourself out of it. There's some, each of you have a value. Share it with each other. And have different kinds of conversations instead of conversations about the weather. If you see somebody every day, all day long, ask them today a different kind of question. What don't I know about you? We work together side by side all the time. What is it that I don't know about you? And let them tell you something different. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were interested in that. And it adds a whole new dimension to the relationship. It makes for a better friendship. Okay? So know who you want to meet, do your research, go where they go, create your own comfort zone, rehearse, get comfortable asking. See how simple it is? It truly is simple, but we talk ourselves out of it. The last one I want to talk about a little bit is being a good storyteller. Depending on what you need from a business standpoint, let's talk about a job advancement or from business purposes, more patience, more connections, more business, more whatever, okay? In order for you to get the message out, the easiest way is to be a good storyteller and that you share a story that other people can talk about you and pass it on rather than you having to go out here and say, okay, here's what I do, and it's this long list of details and terminology that I'm not familiar with, and I'm like, whoa, too much information, okay, versus a fun story. Okay, I'll tell you a fun story that happened to me just a few months ago. I got a call from a farmer friend. I have a farm background. I'll help farmers anytime that I can. And I had an opportunity to help. He called me and he said, can you help a farmer friend of mine make a connection? He owns a compost business. You just never know what you're going to get into, okay? So he owns a compost business. He said, can you help me out? I said, sure. I get a phone call from a gentleman, and I can tell right away this isn't my picture of the average farmer. He has a bit of a brogue. He was Amish. And he's calling me, and he said to me, I heard that you could connect me with someone. I got an email from someone in Australia who wants to learn about organic compost development. Can you introduce us? Okay, now first I'm wondering, how is it that you have email? That's not their culture. So I asked him about it, and he said, well, because I own the business, and the whole entire community works in the business, that this is a multi-million-dollar compost business. In fact, it is world-renowned for, this community is world-renowned for compost, organic compost. Okay? Well, the Aborigine, it's an Aborigine group in Australia that finds them on the internet, and now they want to do business together. And I get a phone call. Okay? So, brought the Amish to Kansas City, because I couldn't get them to Australia. I brought the Aborigine to Kansas City. They wore clothes. That was good. I was concerned, studied both cultures, brought them together. Okay, I'm flying out to Australia in July, taking a couple of the leaders of the Amish community with me, and we're going to go help them develop better organic principles with their farming so that the Aborigine culture can survive because they can't grow enough food to feed their people. Okay? That's a story that you can talk about. You don't need to know all the rest of the details. That was even longer I would normally say. But if you went out there and told that story, that would cause my phone to ring. I want your phone to ring. I want you to think about what you're talking about and what stories that you share. And then based on that, invite the introductions. Allow it to come to you, and I guarantee that it will if you allow it. But that takes some planning, takes some forethought, and it starts with who would you like to bring into your life? Who would you like to meet? Okay? Your friends, start with your friends. Your friends will help you in a heartbeat. Don't hesitate to ask them. And let them connect you to the next best person that could help you in whatever needs or wants that you have. It can be very, very simple. Okay? There's just a few minutes left, and I'd like to take a few questions if you have them. Yes, sir.
I believe it's true, but I don't know whether it is.
women network far better than men. Is that true or not true?
Ladies? My personal feeling is this. My personal feeling is it's not necessarily a gender thing. I think they network differently. I think women network amongst women well, and men, you have your own language. Enough said. Okay, now you know that we have our own language too. But I think that, I often get called into introverted professions as well, and I do believe that introverts are wall huggers. At an event, I just tell them, go find the other wall huggers. You guys are going to have a great time together. Just go stand against the wall, find another introvert. In fact, I think introverts are better networkers than extroverts. Extroverts flip. They tend to collect cards, lots of names, lots of cards, okay? Introverts have deep conversations. They get into the relationship. So, I don't know if it's true or not. I see both, and I see both done well, and I see both done not.
In most situations, men are out there by themselves, and women have friends.
I believe that men are more likely to not ask for help from their friends when they need it in that way. I do believe that. Okay, how about one more question?
I just have a comment too.
Sure.
I think there's another side to the story too. What I found is, I like people to come to me, and people are always afraid of bothering you, and so I always, like, particularly people like my students who should be asking me for things, that you, for people, and I tell them, like, when somebody finishes, I say, you're now an alumni of me. If you need help, or you need a letter, or you need something, feel free to come back to me. The other thing I found is by being a catalyst, people will say, talk to that person because I know they're busy, and I'll say they'd be honored to and encourage them to go. Rather than, they don't need introductions, they just need to go talk. And I've also people around the world because and if you're interested in their research or who they are.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, what a great statement. I do think that for those of you who invite people, just follow up. I do it to all my audiences. Just if you have questions, on the card you have, I think you've got my email address or my number. Yeah, I it, but I am a few people actually take me up on it. So I think that there is an aspect of, well, I don't want to bother. So think of it this way, that it is an honor. When you ask someone for help, to be able to help you. Such a great perspective when you're feeling a little by, well, why would they want to help me? Okay, they're so busy. Well, they love that. It gives them a good feeling to be able to help. So great note to end on. Thank you very much. Thanks for being such a great audience. Thank you. Thank you very much.